Welcome to the Green Podcast. My name is Dylan Welch. I'm the CEO of green.org and Dylan Welch Media. Our goal with this podcast is to bring you the biggest names and leaders in renewable energy, clean technology, and sustainability so that you can stay up to date with the latest trends and everything that is happening in this world. Not only that, you'll get some action items for your life so that you can apply some amazing things and make your world a better place as well. Let's get the show started. Real quick, before we kick off this episode, I want to announce that we have our fall 2022 Green Summit in San Diego, September 17th. Tickets are now available, so get yours today. It's one day of different speakers in renewable energy, clean technology, sustainability, all leaders sharing their vision in TED Talk style presentations for what the world will look like with a more sustainable future. There's only 300 available seats for the event, and I know they're going quickly. There's already less than 300 by the recording of this. So go grab your ticket, green-summit.org, and let's kick off the episode. Thank you very much. Susan is the CEO of Ubiquitous Energy, and they're doing some truly amazing, awesome things. I've had Susan on the podcast a few times. She was a speaker at the very first Green Summit, and it's just cool to hear about how you're really on like the cutting edge of some amazing technology. So, Susan, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be back. I always have fun at Green Summit.
Well, let's, so we have some new people this time around. So can you tell us a little bit about Ubiquitous Energy and what you're working on?
I would love to. Ubiquitous Energy is exactly what it sounds like. We aim to allow any surface or any device that sees the sun to generate its own electricity. And the way that we do that is through our breakthrough technology, which is truly transparent solar. So our first products are for windows. That's probably, where people's brain goes when you think about what can you make out of transparent solar. Our first products are in the window space. So think about skyscrapers, residential windows, always have been passive in the past, and we can turn them into electricity generating devices and really make them a solar asset. So we're not stopping there. I don't want to make it sound like all we're doing is windows, but that's the one we're working on right now and bringing to market. And then we're working on other applications. You can imagine transparent solar embedded in the device of your mobile phone or on a wearable so that you don't have to charge. Greenhouses and agriculture is a really cool application. And then we also like to look at autos. And, we see a lot of parked cars out there in the sun, and they could be solar assets too. So already you got me going, Dylan. But yeah, that's what we do, transparent solar.
Well, you make it sound like when you say, oh, we're only doing windows, as if that's not a big deal. Like, that is an amazing thing. And I think one thing I love when I learn about technology like this is, you almost think that it's such a simple idea or a concept. Like, why don't we put solar panels on all these, these huge buildings and windows? And you're actually going out there and making it happen. So I know a little bit about your background and kind of how you got started with the company, but can we get everybody caught up? Just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Ubiquitous.
Yes, I would love to. I'll start at the beginning with Ubiquitous, which is that we're a company spun out of MIT almost exactly 10 years ago. And so this technology was in the lab at MIT 10 years ago. So, I think that is amazing. And I can take almost no credit for it. We have an amazing technology team who has been able to take this from lab to product in 10 years, which I still am in awe of. I got involved with the company in 2014 as an investor. My background is in finance, and very straight down the middle finance. I was an investment banker, and then I was a VC for a little while. And that's how I came across Ubiquitous Energy, through a colleague who had been investing at MIT companies. We made a connection. And I was working for a family office where we led the Series A for Ubiquitous Energy back in 2014. And I joined the board and really just started partnering with our founder, who's our CTO now, to help him build the business. So I joined as CEO about 2.5 years ago now, and it's been incredibly fun and rewarding. And now I can't imagine doing anything else.
Well, I love that because it's a very sort of natural process of getting involved with the company. Like, you saw it from the very not very beginning, but from, the beginning, you helped them raise funding. And then, here you are as the CEO. So what was that process like? Like, what was the decision when you said, I'm going to leave what I'm doing now as a VC and be full-time CEO of Ubiquitous Energy? What was that decision like and process like for you?
It was so hard. It was a really hard decision. And, again, now looking back, I think to myself, why was it so difficult? But it really was making a choice. I was building within my finance career. I had raised a venture capital fund and was preparing to raise another one. And so I really felt like I had my path laid out in front of me. On the other hand, and you said it, it's a really natural progression. I invested in the company very early. I mean, we were still making postage stamp size solar cells when I invested, and the company had come so far. And I'm a true believer. I mean, I got in early, and I really am such a believer in this technology. So it was about really syncing up for me. There was a little bit of letting go of the path that, the door I was closing to raise a second venture capital fund and to continue to grow as an investor. And so I would say there was even a little period of mourning for that opportunity that I set aside. And so it was a tough decision. And I wanted to make sure that I could do the right thing for this company and, help shepherd it into and through its next phase of growth. So it was not easy.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. So it's cool because I feel like we chat every 6 months or so, and it's amazing just to hear the progress that is happening. So tell us what you're working on, now on a day-to-day basis at Ubiquitous Energy.
Well, as you probably already know, it's different every day. And so you and I talk about being a CEO every time we get together. And that's that is the most fun thing for me about being a CEO, is that every day is different. In the last 6 months, we've had just an extraordinary amount of growth. And so that's been so exciting for us. Since we last talked, we closed our Series B financing round, which I think when I spoke at the last Green Summit, we were in the midst of that and probably about to close. And I'm so proud to report that we have the premier brand in American Windows. Anderson is an investor in the company now and partners with us. So we're really excited about that, and they've been spectacular to work with. So that's one of our biggest achievements over the last 6 months is getting that partnership aligned and announced and the investment made. We're also getting ready to raise our next round of capital. So we've been busy getting ready for our Series C that will fund our factory. So we've been doing a ton of work on de-risking our manufacturing process, getting ready for manufacturing, pre-ordering some of our equipment, really trying to pull forward some of the long lead time items so that we can get into production as quickly as we can. We're hiring like bananas. I mean, every time I ask our head of finance how many people we have on headcount, I'm always wrong. And he always has to check because he's like, oh my gosh, and one more doing this week. I think we've grown 35% just within this quarter. So we're adding folks to support that manufacturing effort, to accelerate our R&D efforts, to continue to make our product better and better, and so we can generate more electricity. That's probably obvious. And building out the business team as well. So we're bringing on some senior executives to help us build out the business development efforts and our sales channels. So we're doing it all. We're doing it all at once. It's
that sounds
incredibly
busy.
fun, but tiring.
Yeah, that's amazing. So right now, I mean, you mentioned, it started out as kind of like a stamp-sized solar cell. What did it start out as at MIT, and then how did it transition, through the R&D to what it looks like today?
That is, I think, a super interesting question, and my answer, I'll tell you, is probably not applicable to everyone bringing new technology to the market. Because our first products are in architectural glass, we identified pretty early in our R&D process that we needed to not only make a product that is indistinguishable from a traditional architectural glass product, so from a traditional window, but also make sure that we maintain all of the thermal efficiency that you get from a window. That's a really important thing. If you're going to go into the building envelope, we need to make sure that we make the most thermally efficient product possible. and that because we're going into a supply chain here that is very well established and risk averse for very good reasons, we needed to also make sure that our manufacturing process and our product are all as much the same or similar as we can make to existing products on the market. So that work began when we were still making those really small solar cells. And we did that in partnership with two industry leading companies, AGC and NSG Pilkington upon sheet glass. They're both partners today. They helped us define the product so that it would drop right into the supply chain. So with that as our guiding principle, and with those folks helping us in our R&D efforts, first we wanted to nail the aesthetics. And that is so important here. I mean, the whole reason that transparent solar is so exciting is because we can deploy solar without asking people to make an aesthetic trade-off. Your window is going to look just like a window. It'll also be a solar panel. And that's so important to us. So we started with nailing the aesthetics on the smaller size. And then we moved up to what you see behind me, which is a 14 by 20 inch insulating glass unit. This is what we use for all our reliability and durability testing, so we can make sure that we can offer warranties, which is very important. And we have like reasonably long, we have nice long product life cycles that match existing product in the market. And so that was a progression of both scaling up the technology, but also spending money and CapEx dollars on a tool set that allowed us to do that. So for us, it was the important thing was doing that in concert with industry, and really choreographing that, so we knew we had the right product it's ready to drop right in.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. And you're saying some things that seem kind of obvious, but I never really thought about, even just, like the thermal of the aspects of the window. Are you planning to kind of retrofit older buildings or roll it out with new builds, or do you have a plan for a combination? Like, what does that look like?
The plan is for a combination, and the nice thing about this product and the architectural glass market is that we get a beautiful piggybacking effect here. We're taking something that's being installed anyway. Either a facade is being retrofitted or someone is replacing their windows. That's happening. And the choice is not, do I want to install the window? The choice is, do I want to add this solar feature and purchase the one that will also generate electricity? So that opens up both the new build and that retrofit market to us, which I think is really exciting. I think for our early installations and early customers, we're going to be focused a little bit more on the retrofit market. And that is, just because of the complexion of that market, there's a little bit more flexibility in timelines, which when you're a company like us and you're going into production for the first time, flexibility on timelines is really nice to have. But there's both markets are there for us, and we have kind of a balanced focus across the two.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's just crazy to think about, because I know there's laws have been passed with new builds in California where they have to have solar panels and things like that on them. And it almost seems like, maybe, and you probably know more about this, but in 5-10 years or whatever that timeline looks like, there will probably be laws that says, every window also has to be a solar panel as well. Are you kind of looking at that like long term? Like, have you put any, I mean, I'm sure you put thought into that, but what does that kind of look like in terms of just rolling out on like a mass scale, and how you'll be working with these companies and the government to do that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, California is a great example because on-site generation is a requirement in California, and that's important. And so we can be a part of that solution. I do think we have an opportunity to be standard here. And a couple minutes ago, we talked about thermal efficiency in windows, and I'm going to get a little, pointy head on glass here for a second. Almost every window that you buy today, and that's installed in a new build or a retrofit environment, has something called a low emissivity coating on it. And that's why, when you look at your window glass in the right light, you can kind of see the coating and you get a reflection. What that coating is doing is stopping the sun from heating up your building. It's rejecting that solar heat and sending it back out into the environment. We do the same thing. We just take that and turn it into electricity instead. So the reason that I bring that up is because that is standard, required by building code. across the country and across most of the world. And so we believe that we have exactly the same path for power producing low E, because that's really what we are. We're a low emissivity coating that produces power. We believe we have the same path. And our friends at Anderson were a part of the industry push to make that standard in building code for low emissivity, and we're working with them to do that for power producing low E as well. So
Nice.
we're on our way.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier than if there's already kind of processes in place for Windows that they have to do certain things. Now it's just like, yeah, we do the same thing, but way better, and we store this energy. So that's cool. But I've really enjoyed having our panelists on, because a lot of them are in different phases of their business. Like some are, getting investments, some have sold multiple businesses. And right now you're in the process of, getting investments to build out your factory. What has that been like? Because I'm sure that has not been an easy process. Like, walk us through sort of the investment you're going through and the plan you have moving forward to build out the facility.
Yeah. Well, right now we haven't launched our Series C process, so we're in the prep phase, which feels kind of easy and fun and exciting. So the short answer is I don't know yet how hard it is going to be, Dylan. I'm kind of teasing. We have many investors, both on our existing cap table and who have come to us, who have expressed interest in helping support the company and being part of our cap table. So tons of interest. We're really excited about getting out there and really telling our story to these folks. So that's starting a couple of weeks from now. So ask me again and I'll tell you like the real war stories. But I can tell you about our Series B process, which we did complete. I would say the most interesting thing to me about our Series B process is that over the course of, kind of 6 months as we went through that process from about this time last year through the fall, interest in investing in climate tech, clean tech, renewable energy, and in by the way, building efficiency, building products for building more efficient buildings has all accelerated. And there's so much money now that is focused on bringing products to market that that help solve our climate crisis. And that I don't see that changing. And I think now, especially for renewable energy, we have a renewed focus on energy independence because of what's going on in Ukraine and in Europe. There's so much dependence on Russian natural gas that I think this is another accelerant for folks like us who are bringing products and solutions to market that are a piece of the puzzle in resolving our climate issues and our renewable energy issues. So I fingers crossed, I expect it to go smoothly. We're aiming to launch in a couple of weeks and close our round hopefully this summer. And that'll allow us to secure our site for our manufacturing facility, start ordering the big chunky equipment, start hiring that. We started hiring that team, but hiring even more of that team, and really getting going towards manufacturing. So that's really the gate. Yeah. We're right there. Yeah. Everything's ready to hit send on a bunch of purchase orders as soon as we have the money in the bank.
Just waiting to hit the ground running. Well, that's exciting to hear that, people are more and more interested in investing in renewable energy and clean technology, especially when you're about to go into this. And I mean, it's cool just reading some of these comments. People are obviously really excited about what you're working on. Amy says this is exciting innovation, ton of other good stuff. But I think something you kind of mentioned, with sort of being self-reliant with this technology, like thinking really big picture, how do you kind of see this changing sort of the overall energy industry in the next 10, 15 years when your technology is rolling out and available, worldwide? Like, where do you see the big impacts this is going to have?
Well, I see big impacts for on-site generation for buildings. And I think that accomplishes two real goals for us once this is widely deployed. One is to help offer resiliency at a building that might not be there if you didn't have on-site generation. And we've talked about this example before, but I can't stop thinking about, there was an apartment building in New Orleans that had a traditional microgrid, rooftop solar with storage, and it happens to be low income housing. Lights went out during New Orleans because of a hurricane, and for days the grid was down, and this building was able to keep tenants, if they even had the air conditioning running, which is amazing. And so I think there's going to be a more and more and more of a focus on bringing resiliency to backup power for buildings. So we can and should be a piece of that, because we are true on-site generation. And then I really am a true believer in distributed energy. And I don't mean that I think distributed energy is going to replace the grid, but I think we need to share the weight. We continue to pile and pile and pile weight onto the grid. And I'll tell you a story, which is, kind of embarrassing on myself, but I feel like everything I buy nowadays needs to be plugged in. I'm not kidding you. I'm wearing an Aura ring that needs to be plugged in. And so my most recent favorite gadget is, I don't know if you have one of these, Dylan, an Ember mug. Do you know these? I'm obsessed with my Ember mug. So it's a mug that you plug in. And it has a battery, and it'll keep your coffee warm for 2 hours. For me, this is amazing. I'm addicted to coffee. And so I was talking to my husband a couple of weeks ago, and he wanted me to go do something. And I was like, oh, hang on. I got to plug in my coffee before I, go do whatever it was. And just hearing myself say that, I've got to plug in my coffee, really it hit home for me that almost everything in our world today needs electricity. And by bringing that to devices, by bringing that to buildings, and allowing the consumers of the electricity to participate in the generation, I think is how we maintain our grids and how we keep them reliable and robust, and really share that weight as we continue to add more and more and more need to the grid. So yeah, I see us being a big contributor to that distributed generation.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's funny. I don't know if you're here for John Shigarian, but he owns an e-waste recycling company. So he would probably love hearing that. Like, oh, now we can recycle mugs. That's great. But yeah,
that's good, because I was wondering what I'm supposed to do with my mug. I'm like, that's already on my mind. What do I do with my mug when it's, when the battery finally goes?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, that's the world we live in. And we had Stuart Lombard from Ecobee, they have smart thermostats. Like, that's just the world we're living in, where we're, the Internet of Things, everything is becoming smart. Everything is, it's happening. So that's cool that you're able to, be able to provide sort of the way to capture the energy to, charge these things. And I can only imagine, a big New York City apartment building, and how much energy all those people use, charging all their devices, charging their vehicles. And now they could pull, the energy directly from the energy from the sun that's already hitting the building, which is really exciting. Like, they don't have to change anything. And that's cool too, because a big sponsor of this event is EV Charge for You. They're in San Francisco, and they install EV chargers at residential and commercial buildings. And I was just kind of asking him, like, where he sees his industry going in the future. And the CEO was just saying they can't wait to start, putting in batteries and connecting to solar panels, so that basically it's its own little grid right there, where they can collect the energy, store it, charge their cars, and never have to, do anything else. So that's really cool. Someone has a question. When will the full-size products be available? Do you have any news on that?
I do. And take this through the lens of, we're a startup, right? So we have our timelines, if all of our timelines hold, and that includes being able to raise our money when we want to raise our money, we should have first product in the market in early 2024. And I think I see somebody asked if custom sizes will be provided as well. And the answer is yes. And that kind of goes to our theme of making sure that we're a no compromises product, no aesthetic compromises, no performance compromises. So yes to custom sizes. And our factory will be capable of doing floor to ceiling glass. And again, that's just a requirement to serve our market. And we can't expect our customer to make compromises, no trade-offs. So floor to ceiling glass is a must.
No, I like that. I like how you're not saying, oh, this is what we offer, take it or leave it. It's like, no, we have everything ready to go when you need it. And I mean, that's what, your customers are going to want. They're going to have different windows and, other things to replace. And you mentioned that you're even kind of looking beyond Windows too and other products. You mentioned the phones, you mentioned the EVs. What does that kind of look like? Like, is that pretty close on the horizon, or is that kind of post 2024 when the products are launched? You're like, this is our second phase. What is that overall looking like for you?
Yeah. I would say it's somewhere in between there. I mean, we are laser focused on execution as we get into manufacturing. And I think that is critical for a successful manufacturing launch. I think Elon Musk and Tesla, I think Elon likes to say that manufacturing is really hard, and manufacturing is really hard. And so we're really focused on that and making sure that we bring the right product to the market in just like bomb-proof way. So we are phasing this out, or I should say, we do have dedicated funds in our next capital raise to, I would say, to amplify our efforts outside of architectural glass. And so we do right now, the way we handle that is through, kind of borrowing resources. We borrow resources from the R&D team, and we borrow tool time. And so to really set up a dedicated effort to pursue those alternate applications or advanced applications. And we have interest from corporate partners to work with us on those. So we have, a real path to developing a product that then, just like our architectural glass product, can slot right into the supply chain and be a drop-in solution. So that's kind of one of our other themes, is to work closely with corporate partners. So again, we can get the right product into the market and be as disruptive a product as we can without disrupting the supply chain and everything else.
Right. Well, that's why I've always loved following what you're doing, because you, one, already have this amazing technology that you've been developing and you're so close to launching it, which I think will change so many different things. But then not only that, you're not just coasting off into the sunset. You're like, no, we already have the plan after that to apply it in here, and here. So again, that's why I love talking to you every 6 months, because it's like, I just get to continue to watch everything grow and grow. We're getting some more questions, so I'm going to keep hitting these. Who do you see as your main competitors coming from Basel?
So I think I'll answer that in kind of two different ways. I think on the one hand, our competitive products are any other glass product that architect and builder are looking at. So the choices are passive glass, other premium glazing, or ubiquitous energy power producing glass. And so when we're out talking to potential customers, that's our competitive set. There are other folks who are trying to bring transparent solar to the market. We see, I think somebody here asked about Clearview PV. That's a public company out of Australia. There's some folks in Spain, Onyx, that have what I actually think is a beautiful product. It's very tinted compared to what we have, but it is a beautiful product. It's typically used in overhead, so like a skylight setting. There's a company called Next Energy Technologies out of Santa Barbara that is also trying to bring transparent solar to market. Everybody's got a slightly different approach. What I can say is our portfolio of IP is very strong, and our industry relationships are also very strong. So, we feel really confident that we're bringing not only the right product to market, but we'll be the first to get there with, really a mass adoptable and, high volume production. So I think it's exciting that others are working on this. And I think that I can tell you the industry has been waiting for electricity producing glass since the idea, like concept, could even be conceived. So I think tons of enthusiasm around the industry. And that's why others are trying to do it too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. It's crazy that unfortunately your competition is still just plain glass. So for everyone listening and watching, when you are making that change, make sure you go with this glass if you're, building a house or a building. We get one more final question from Danny. What is your device's power conversion efficiency for BIPV?
So BIPV, for people who aren't in the architectural glass or building world, BIPV is building integrated photovoltaic. That's what that stands for. And so I'll tell you our power conversion efficiency. It doesn't matter how it's deployed. I mean, it's like a silicon panel. Your efficiency is your efficiency. We have theoretical limits that are about 2/3 of conventional opaque solar. So when you think about the photons in the sun, about 2/3 of them are not visible to the human eye. And that's where we get our electricity. So we're going to max out at about 2/3 the efficiency of a conventional panel. We have a third-party validated cell that's been tested in our pipeline. That's a 10% efficiency. If you compare that to what's on the market for rooftop panels right now, it's kind of high teens, low 20s for conventional solar. And we have production-ready formulations that are below that 10%, and we'll be coming to market with something that is, I would say, probably slightly below 10%, but we have a really clear pathway to it in our R&D pipeline. So I expect we'll just continue to push those efficiencies up as we move through our R&D efforts and as we mature the technology, just like conventional solar. Conventional solar continues to increase power conversion efficiency and people pay for it. So we'll be doing exactly the same thing.
Okay, we're getting a lot more questions. Susan, first off, I want to thank you for being here and for your time. I wish we could chat longer. So what I'll do is I'll get all these questions and maybe we could do like a follow-up podcast episode on the Green Podcast and just kind of dive a little bit deeper. But real quick, call to action, what can we do? Obviously, we're getting a lot of, positive support. How can we support Ubiquitous Energy with, what you're working on and what's coming next?
Well, I wish I could tell you go buy the product, but as you've already heard from me, we're not quite there. So as soon as we're ready, go buy the product. And if you're thinking about building, keep us in mind. So that's an easy one. The other thing that I would say, and this feels a little bit nebulous, but it really is important, is tell the people that matter that this is important to you. If you're an employee at a big company and new corporate headquarters is coming together, raise your hand and demand energy efficiency and building efficiency in that building. If you're renting a new apartment, ask the landlord, do you have solar or, do you have on-site generation and kind of what's the efficiency of the building? Asking those questions will demonstrate that it's important. And in order to get technologies like ours adopted through building envelopes and through these multifamily homes, we need the builder to know that it's important and valuable and that tenants are going to demand it. And that juices our demand. The last thing I would say, if you feel inclined to call your senator, the solar investment tax credit is about to sunset to 10%. And in the Build Back Better bill, it would be reinstated and extended. So we are big fans of the Build Back Better bill for that reason and many other reasons. And so if you feel like calling your senator, and especially Senator Manchin in West Virginia, we would love some support for Build Back Better because it'd be great for, I think, probably everybody on this call. So that's how you can help.
There we go. Susan, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I love hearing the updates that you're doing, and I'm sure we'll have you back on in 6 months at the 2022 Fall Green Summit and hear some exciting announcements there too. So as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here. We'll link all of Susan's information if people want to get involved. And again, thank you. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure. And hopefully I'll see you in person next time.
Yes, that is the plan. Thank you, Susan. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode. My name is Dylan Welch. Appreciate it. As always, stay up to date with the latest information on green.org and dylanwelch.com. Dylan Welch Media is a full-service media and communications agency dedicated to promoting, marketing, and helping businesses in clean tech, renewable energy, and sustainability grow, get more clients, get more customers, get in front of their ideal clientele. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. If you're interested in joining the Green Summit, go to www.green-summit.org. Reserve your ticket today. There's very few spots left, so make sure you get on that ASAP. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.